A holding pattern is simply a way to fly around in circles while you wait. You're either waiting on some kind of traffic to clear or you're waiting on a delay caused by weather, and ATC has given you holding instructions. Now they're going to tell you to hold at some kind of a fix or a VOR, and it's important that you understand what a holding pattern looks like. It's basically a circle. It has an inbound course and an outbound course. The idea is that you fly to the fix, whether it's a VOR or an intersection, and then you proceed to fly around in circles within a certain distance of that fix. It's called a protected area that you can just hang out in until the delay clears and you're able to proceed inbound. So it's important to understand that there's an inbound course and an outbound course, and to be able to decipher that information from the instructions that ATC gives you. We'll get into that in a minute, but there's 3 ways to get into this hold, and it's basically you need to fly to the fix and then stay within the hold, getting established in right-hand turns in some manner. So there are 3 prescribed entries to a holding pattern: parallel, teardrop, and direct, and it all depends on what direction you're approaching the hold from. They feel it's easiest if you're approaching the hold from this direction to simply turn, enter the hold, and fly around it. That's called a direct entry. Now the teardrop entry involves flying to the fix, turning around, and then proceeding to fly the hold. The parallel entry also involves proceeding to the fix, flying backwards on your inbound course, and then turning around and flying the hold normally. You have to be able to visualize these lines in order to determine exactly which hold entry you should use. I find that it's easiest to draw a hold on a piece of paper and then make a slash through the hold, cutting off the larger part of the hold. So the slash would be here, and you see that I'm cutting off the most amount of the hold that I can while slashing through the fix. Then extend a line out on your inbound course, and you'll be able to visualize your teardrop, direct, all the way to here, and parallel entry sectors, depending on from which way you're approaching. So once you do one of these entries, exactly what do you do after that? Well, if it's a direct entry, it simply involves flying to the fix and then turning to the outbound course. So you're going to fly to the fix and just immediately start to fly the hold as normal. Now if it's a teardrop entry, again, you're going to fly to the fix, and then you're going to fly outbound, but not exactly your outbound heading. You're going to fly outbound, but minus 30 degrees, so that you go up into the middle of the hold. Then you're going to make a right and intercept your inbound course and proceed to fly the hold normally. For a parallel entry, you're going to again fly to the fix. You could be coming from any one of these directions. Then you're going to fly backwards on the inbound course, make a turn around, back to the fix, and then proceed to fly the hold normally. So the big question is, how do you determine what kind of entry you need for the hold, especially when you're in the airplane? If you draw it out on paper, it's pretty easy. Say we were approaching this hold from the north and we were flying to the south. We could see pretty clearly that it's going to be a parallel entry, and we're going to fly to the fix, fly backwards on our inbound course, turn around, and then proceed to follow the hold. However, when you're in the airplane, it can be somewhat more difficult. So in the airplane, the trick is to be able to determine your outbound and your inbound course and then draw the hold in your mind. My method is to use the heading indicator. If you print out a heading indicator, just a picture of one from online, it makes practice very easy. So when we're in the airplane, we're going to be flying along on a certain heading, and we're going to get holding instructions from ATC. For example, it's going to be something like hold east on the 090 radial of the Lakeland VOR. Alright, so what we can do if we're flying a heading of 060 is we can try to imagine this holding pattern in our mind. What we can do is we take our finger and we put it on the radial on which we were told to hold, then draw a line to the center of the heading indicator and turn right. Now we can see this hold in our mind. It helps when you're doing practice to print out some kind of a racetrack pattern and actually overlay it on the hold. We assume that the fix is in the middle of the heading indicator, and we align the inbound course with the radial that we were told to hold on. Now we can see as we look at this, and we can think about slicing this hold. We know that one slice goes this way, and then the other line extends out in this fashion, and we can see that we are coming from the teardrop entry sector. So now to fly this as a teardrop, we can also see from our heading indicator that we are going to fly to the fix, and then we are going to fly out on the 060 heading for 1 minute. Then we're going to make a right turn, and we're going to come inbound. Our inbound course in this case is going to be 270, and then we'll make a right turn to our outbound course of 090, and we'll proceed to fly the hold. After you've done this in your mind, draw it to verify it. So for example, our instructions were to hold east on the 090 radial. So start by drawing the fix. Then draw the radial. 090 radial will protrude out to the east. Now track inbound on that radial and turn right. Now we have our hold drawn. We can slice it, slicing off the larger portion of the hold, and then we can extend our inbound course out a bit to see our entry sectors, teardrop, parallel, and direct. Now we know from our example that we were flying inbound on a heading of 060. So if we're coming in on a 060, we think of our compass rose here, 060 would be approaching the fix from approximately this direction. And we can clearly see that we are in the teardrop entry sector. So let's do another problem. So now say we are flying and our heading is 210. Alright, and we are told to hold south on the 180 radial of the Lakeland VOR. So again, we do the same thing. We start with our finger, and we draw the radial inbound. So we take from south down to the middle. And now we turn right. If we overlay our tool here, we'll be able to see it more clearly. And now we can envision from what direction we're approaching the hold. And it's obvious at this point, if you've studied a little bit about holding pattern entries and the entry sectors, that we're entering on a parallel. So we're entering on a parallel, so that means we fly to the fix, then we fly outbound backwards on the inbound leg, turn left, re-intercept the fix, and then proceed to turn right. We can see what our outbound and our inbound course is at this point. Our inbound course coming in from this direction is going to be 360. And our outbound course, or the opposite, is going to be 180. So now we're going to draw it to verify. So again, our instruction was to hold south on the 180 radial of the Lakeland VOR. So we'll start by drawing our fix. Then we will draw the 180 radial. Now we'll proceed inbound on that radial and turn right. And there we have our hold. Now we just have to determine what direction we were coming from when we entered this hold, and if you remember in our example, we were coming in on a 210 heading. So thinking about our compass rose again, a 210 heading would be approaching the hold from this direction. If we slice it, we can see that we're coming in from the parallel entry sector. And what we've determined using the heading indicator is verified to be correct.